September 8th, 1939, 7:43 in the morning. A city of over 1 million people wakes to find itself surrounded. Every road out is blocked. Every railway is cut. Every bridge over the Vistula is held by German forces. Warsaw, one of Europe's great capitals, has become an island. Outside the city, nearly 200,000 Wehrmacht soldiers wait. Hundreds of artillery pieces point inward. Above, more than 1,000 Luftwaffe aircraft circle like vultures. Inside, the city has 3 days of food supplies left. This is the story of 20 days that would kill 25,000 civilians, and how one man's voice on the radio refused to let Warsaw surrender. For the next 35 minutes, you're going to experience the siege of Warsaw day by day, from the first artillery barrage to the moment the city's defenders lowered their flag. You'll hear Mayor Stefan Starzyński's daily broadcasts that kept the city fighting. You'll see women building barricades with furniture dragged from their apartments, children carrying ammunition while artillery shells destroy their neighborhoods, hospitals operating without anesthesia, water mains deliberately targeted, a systematic attempt to break a city's will by killing its people. Most documentaries tell you Warsaw fell on September 28th, 1939. What they don't show you is how. The precise sequence of horrors that broke one of Europe's cultural centers, and why 25,000 civilians died defending a battle that was already lost. By the end, you'll understand something crucial about the Second World War. This wasn't just a military conflict. From the very first month, this was a war against civilians, and Warsaw was where the world learned that lesson. Let's go back 7 days before the siege begins. September 1st, 1939. Germany invades Poland. Warsaw sits about 200 miles from the German border, far enough that residents initially feel safe. The government is here. The military command is here. Surely Poland's capital will be defended, right? Wrong. By September 6th, German panzers have already cut through Poland's defenses. The blitzkrieg tactics that we covered in the previous episode, Guderian's combined arms warfare, the radio-coordinated tank assaults, the Stuka dive bombers, they've shattered Poland's armies in just 6 days. And here's the critical moment. The Polish government flees Warsaw on September 6th, moving first to Lublin, then eventually to Romania. They leave behind a city full of civilians who still believe help is coming. Let's return to September 8th, 1939. That morning, the German 10th Army reaches Warsaw's southern suburbs. The 4th Panzer Division reaches the western approaches. By noon, Wehrmacht forces have completely encircled the city. Every major road is blocked. The railway lines are cut. The last connection to the outside world is gone. Inside the city, Major General Walerian Suma commands the garrison. He has roughly 140,000 troops, but only about 40,000 are regular army. The rest are hastily formed militia, police, civilians with rifles. They have several hundred artillery pieces, but ammunition is already running low. And the civilians? Over 1 million people trapped inside. Stefan Starzyński, Warsaw's mayor, calls an emergency meeting at City Hall that afternoon. He's 50 years old, a veteran of World War I, Poland's former Minister of Interior before becoming Warsaw's mayor in 1934. For the past week, he's been organizing the city's defenses while the national government panicked and fled. Now, Mayor Starzynski has a choice. He can order evacuation, try to get civilians out before the siege begins. Except, there's nowhere to go. The Germans control every road. He can surrender immediately, save lives, hand over Warsaw without a fight, or he can prepare the city to fight. At 6 p.m., Stefan Starzyński, Warsaw's mayor, walks to Polish radio studios on Zielna Street. He's been broadcasting daily since the war began, but tonight's message will be different. Tonight, he has to tell over 1 million people they're about to experience something no European capital has endured since the medieval era. A siege. He sits at the microphone. The red light comes on. Citizens of Warsaw, this is your mayor. German forces have surrounded our city. They demand our surrender. I have refused. He pauses. Outside the studio windows, the sun is setting over Warsaw's elegant streets. The old town, with its colorful merchant houses, the Saxon gardens where families still stroll, the Vistula river bridges still intact. Tomorrow they will try to break our spirit with bombs and shells. They will attempt to terrorize us into submission. But Warsaw will not submit. We will defend every street, every building, every stone. His voice hardens. I ask every citizen to prepare for hardship, ration your food, conserve water, build barricades in your neighborhoods. When the bombardment comes, and it will come, take shelter in basements. Protect the children, help your neighbors, and above all, do not lose hope. Warsaw has survived wars before. We have been invaded, occupied, partitioned, but we have never surrendered our dignity. We will not start now. He ends with words that will become famous. The enemy stands at our gates. Let him break his teeth on our walls. The broadcast ends. Starzynski walks out into the September evening. Around him, Warsaw prepares for war. September 9th, 1939, just after 5:30 in the morning, the first artillery shell crashes into Warsaw's Praga district, east of the Vistula. Then another. Then a rolling thunder that doesn't stop. Hundreds of German artillery pieces, heavy howitzers, mortars, field guns, begin systematic bombardment of the city. They're not aiming at military targets. They're aiming at everything. Residential neighborhoods, markets, hospitals, schools, the Saxon gardens where children played yesterday, the elegant apartment buildings along Marszałkowska Street, the old town's medieval churches. The strategy is simple. Make life impossible, kill civilians, destroy infrastructure, create chaos, break the will to resist. By noon, thousands of shells have fallen on Warsaw. Fires burn in 40 locations. The first civilian casualties arrive at hospitals. Entire families killed in their apartments, children pulled from rubble, elderly crushed by collapsing buildings. At 2 p.m., the Luftwaffe arrives. Heinkel bombers in formations of 20 aircraft. Junkers, Stukas screaming down in their signature dive, sirens wailing. Dornier bombers carpet bombing residential districts. They drop high explosives and incendiaries. The goal isn't precision. It's terror. Maria Kilchevska, a 23-year-old teacher, writes in her diary that night, the sound is indescribable. Not like thunder, like the earth itself breaking apart. Our building shook so violently I thought the walls would collapse. We huddled in the basement, 30 families, maybe 80 people. The children were screaming. When the bombing finally stopped and we emerged, our street was unrecognizable. The building across from us was simply gone. A crater where 6 families had lived. September 10th, 1939. Mayor Stefan Starzyński broadcasts again at 6 p.m. He will do this every single day of the siege, becoming the voice of Warsaw's resistance. Citizens, the bombardment continues, but so do we. Today, our women and children built barricades at 40 intersections. Old furniture, paving stones, overturned trams, anything to slow German armor if they assault the city. Our workers repaired broken water mains overnight. Our doctors performed surgeries in hospital basements. Our fire brigades fought 50 fires. He lists the day's casualties matter-of-factly. Over 400 killed, more than 600 wounded. The numbers will only grow. Tomorrow will bring more bombardment, more fires, more casualties, but it will also bring more resistance. Warsaw fights on. The pattern establishes itself over the next week. Dawn brings artillery bombardment, random targeting of residential areas. Morning and afternoon bring Luftwaffe bombing raids, 3 to 5 waves per day. Evening brings Starzynski's broadcast. Updates on casualties, damage, repairs, always ending with defiance. Night brings repair work. Civilians dig in rubble for survivors. Count the dead. We are now 5 days into the siege, September 13th, 1939. German forces cut the last water pipeline into the city. Now, Warsaw's million-plus people must rely on wells and the Vistula River, but German artillery controls the riverbank. Women and children form bucket brigades, running to the river during lulls in bombardment, filling containers, running back. Dozens are killed doing this. Food is running out. The 3-day supply is gone. Bakeries operate in basements, baking what little flour remains. Civilians queue for hours for a single loaf of bread. The queues themselves become targets. German artillery observers watch for crowds, then shell them. Anna Simanska, a mother of 3, remembers. We had been waiting 2 hours when the shells started falling. The woman next to me, I had been talking to her about our children. A shell fragment cut her nearly in half. I ran home without the bread, covered in her blood. My children asked why I was crying. I couldn't tell them. That evening, Mayor Starzynski's broadcast is brief. We have no water system. Residents must gather water from the river and public wells. I know this is dangerous. I know people are dying to fetch water. But without water, everyone dies. So we continue. We endure. The next day, September 14th, the Luftwaffe begins targeting hospitals directly. These aren't accidents. German pilots can see the red crosses painted on hospital roofs. They bomb them anyway. The Holy Ghost Hospital takes a direct hit. Dozens of patients and staff die. The surgical wing collapses. Doctors are performing amputations in basement corridors using kitchen knives because proper surgical equipment is destroyed. Dr. Zygmunt Slawinski, chief surgeon at Warsaw's main hospital, later writes about operating during bombing raids. We would be mid-surgery when the building shook, dust falling from the ceiling into open wounds, no anesthesia remaining, so patients screamed, no proper instruments, no antibiotics, just tourniquets and hope. We saved maybe 1 in 3. The rest died of shock, infection, or blood loss. September 15th, 1939. Warsaw is completely encircled now. No food coming in, no ammunition resupply, no reinforcements. The garrison's artillery is rationing shells. They can't waste ammunition on counter-battery fire when German guns are out of range. They can only endure. The Luftwaffe intensifies its bombing. They're dropping heavy bombs now, weapons designed to collapse buildings. Entire apartment blocks disintegrate. The death toll climbs. Around 800 civilians killed today. Over 1,000 wounded. Hospitals are overwhelmed. St. Lazarus Hospital has around 2,000 wounded crammed into spaces meant for 400. Surgeons operate without anesthesia. There isn't enough. Patients bite on leather straps while doctors amputate shattered limbs. The operating rooms shake with every artillery impact. Dr. Ludwik Rostworowski writes, "We are performing Civil War medicine in a modern European capital. Amputations without adequate anesthesia, surgeries by candlelight when electricity fails, bandages washed and reused because supplies are exhausted. We have become butchers, not healers. Not because we lack skill, but because we lack everything else." September 16th, 1939. Starzynski's evening broadcast addresses the rumors spreading through the city that Britain and France are coming, that the Western Allies will attack Germany from the west, forcing Hitler to withdraw. That relief is days away. He doesn't lie to them. "Citizens, I know many of you hope that our British and French allies will come to our aid, that they declared war on Germany on September 3rd, and surely they will now attack. I must tell you the truth. We have heard nothing from our allies. No attack on Germany's western borders has materialized. No relief force is going." The words devastate the population's morale. But Starzynski continues, "So we fight alone, as we have fought before in our history, as we will fight again if necessary. Warsaw does not require British or French permission to be brave." September 17th, 1939, and then it gets worse. News reaches Warsaw that the Soviet Union has invaded Poland from the east, hundreds of thousands of Red Army troops crossing the border. Poland is now fighting a two-front war it cannot win. The military situation is hopeless. The political situation is hopeless, but the civilians of Warsaw keep building barricades. September 18th through 24, 1939, the bombardment continues, every day, dawn to dusk, artillery and bombs. The pattern becomes routine, if hell can ever be routine. The casualty count climbs. Let me give you the progression. September 18th, over 600 killed. September 19th, around 700 killed. September 20th, over 800 killed. September 21st, nearly 1,000 killed. September 22nd, over 1,000 killed. September 23rd, around 1,200 killed. September 24th, nearly 1,400 killed. The numbers become abstract, but each one is a name, a family, a life ended under rubble or shrapnel. Warsaw is burning. Fires rage in hundreds of locations simultaneously, too many for the fire brigades to fight. The old town, with its centuries-old wooden roof buildings, becomes an inferno. People watch their neighborhoods burn, unable to stop it. Starzynski broadcasts twice daily now, morning and evening. The morning broadcasts are practical. Which water points are safe? Which streets are impassable, where food distribution will occur? The evening broadcasts are spiritual, reminding Warsaw why it fights. September 24th evening. 17 days now. 17 days we have endured what no modern city should endure. I've walked our streets today. I've seen the destruction, buildings I knew, neighborhoods I loved, reduced to ruins. And I've seen something else. Courage. I saw a woman digging in rubble for survivors with her bare hands. I saw a doctor performing surgery in a basement by candlelight. I saw children, carrying ammunition to soldiers on the barricades. I saw an elderly man, 70 years old if he was a day, refusing to evacuate his block because someone must stay to fight the fires. This is Warsaw, this is Poland, we do not surrender, but the Germans are preparing something unprecedented. September 25th, 1939. It will become known as Black Monday. The plan is German commander Johannes Blaskowitz's answer to Warsaw's continued resistance. Operation Wasserkante, Water Edge, an aerial bombardment unlike anything yet seen in the war. Every available Luftwaffe bomber in Poland will attack Warsaw simultaneously, not for hours, all day. Around 400 aircraft, Heinkel bombers, Dornier bombers, Junkers Stukas, Junkers transport planes converted to bombers, even training aircraft carrying bombs. They will drop over 500 tons of high explosives and around 70 tons of incendiary bombs on a city, measuring just 12 square miles. The goal is simple: break Warsaw by fire. September 25th, 1939, 8 o'clock in the morning. The first wave arrives, about 60 bombers in tight formation. They drop their loads on the old town. High explosives fracture buildings. Incendiaries ignite what remains. 8:45 a.m., second wave, around 80 bombers, targeting Praga district east of the Vistula. 9:30 a.m., third wave, roughly 75 bombers. Mokotów neighborhood to the south. There is no break. As soon as one formation finishes its bombing run and turns away, another appears. The sound of aircraft engines becomes constant. A droning that never stops. The Stuka dive bombers scream down on specific targets. Hospitals marked with red crosses, a war crime. Fire stations, water pumping stations. The sirens built into their wings create a psychological weapon. That shrieking wail before the bombs hit. By noon, Warsaw is burning in hundreds of locations simultaneously. The firestorm effect begins around 2 p.m. Individual fires merge into a single enormous conflagration. The fire creates its own wind, sucking oxygen inward, feeding itself. Temperatures in the old town reach 1,000 degrees Celsius. Stone melts, metal flows like water. Anything wooden simply evaporates. People trapped in the old town face a choice: burn alive or run through the streets where bombs are still falling. Thousands choose to run. Many don't make it. Janina Jaworska, a nurse, describes it. The sky was black with smoke, but I could see fire everywhere. Not individual fires, but a wall of flame consuming entire blocks. People were running in every direction, disoriented, terrified. I saw a mother carrying 2 small children, maybe 3 and 5 years old. She was running toward the Vistula, thinking the river would be safe. An incendiary bomb hit 20 meters ahead of her. The white phosphorus burst, scattered. It struck her and the children. They burned where they stood. There was nothing I could do, nothing anyone could do. The water pumping stations are destroyed by 4 p.m. Now Warsaw has no running water at all. Fire brigades watch helplessly as the city burns. They have hoses, but nothing to pump through them. The hospitals are hit again. Carol and Maria Hospital takes a direct strike. Around 140 patients and over 20 medical staff killed instantly. St. Stanislaus Hospital's roof collapses, killing dozens more wounded soldiers and patients. By 6 p.m., German bombers have flown over 1,000 sorties. Hundreds of tons of explosives and incendiaries dropped on 12 square miles. The casualty count for September 25th alone: nearly 4,000 civilians killed, close to 9,000 wounded. That evening, Polish radio broadcasts from a makeshift studio in a basement. The main facility was destroyed at 3 p.m. Through crackling static, Warsaw hears Stefan Starzyński's voice. "Citizens!" He pauses. For the first time in the siege, his voice cracks. "Today, the enemy attempted to murder our city. I have no other word for it. What happened today was not war. It was murder. I have walked our streets tonight, and I have no words adequate to describe what I have seen." Another pause. "But I will tell you this: Warsaw still stands. Buildings burn, yes. Many of our people have fallen, yes. But the spirit that makes Warsaw, that is not destroyed, that cannot be destroyed by bombs. Tomorrow we will clear rubble. We will fight fires. We will bury our dead. And we will continue to resist, because that is what Warsaw does. We endure." The broadcast ends. In basements across the city, families huddle together, wondering if they will survive tomorrow. September 26th, 1939. Warsaw wakes to ruins. Roughly a third of the city is destroyed. The old town is smoldering rubble. Major infrastructure, water, electricity, gas, no longer functions. Food supplies are exhausted. Hospitals are operating out of cellars with no medical supplies. Major General Zuma, commanding the garrison, knows the military situation is hopeless. His artillery has perhaps 50 shells remaining. Infantry ammunition will last maybe 2 more days of fighting. There are around 20,000 wounded soldiers in hospitals with no medical care, and over 1 million civilians starving in basements. He sends an officer with a white flag to German lines. The message is simple: Warsaw requests terms for surrender. The German commander, General Johannes Blaskowitz, responds with conditions. All Polish military forces will surrender unconditionally. All weapons will be handed over. Officers may keep sidearms, a symbolic gesture. Civilian population will not be harmed, which will prove to be a lie. Warsaw must surrender by September 28th at noon, or bombardment resumes. General Zuma calls a meeting of the city's military and civilian leaders. The debate is agonizing. Military commanders argue surrender is necessary. They've lost around 10,000 soldiers killed or wounded. They're out of ammunition. Continuing to fight means more civilian deaths for no military gain. Some civilian leaders argue for continued resistance. Every day Warsaw holds out is one more day for the Western Allies to act. Maybe Britain and France will finally attack. Maybe Soviet advances from the east will trigger Western intervention. But everyone knows the truth. Help isn't coming. Stefan Starzyński, Warsaw's mayor, doesn't attend the meeting. He's in the city, walking the ruins, talking to civilians. When he returns to City Hall that evening, he's made his decision. He supports surrender. Not because he's weak, but because continuing to fight means killing more civilians for a battle already lost. That night, he broadcasts one final time as mayor of a free Warsaw. "Citizens of Warsaw, tomorrow our military garrison will surrender to German forces. This decision was made not out of cowardice, but out of love. Love for you, love for this city, love for the children who have endured hell for 3 weeks." His voice is firm. "We have defended Warsaw with everything we had. Our soldiers fought with skill and courage. Our civilians showed bravery beyond measure. Women built barricades. Children carried ammunition. Elderly citizens fought fires. We defended every street, every building, every stone. 25,000 of our people died in these 3 weeks. 25,000. That number should shame the world. This is what modern warfare means. Not soldiers dying on battlefields, but civilians crushed in their homes. Not military targets destroyed, but hospitals bombed. Not armies defeated, but cities murdered. Warsaw's military defense ends tomorrow, but our spirit? That has not surrendered. That will never surrender. Remember what we did here. Remember what we endured. Remember that when the world needed courage, Warsaw provided it. And someday, perhaps not soon, perhaps not in our lifetimes, but someday Poland will be free again, and Warsaw will rise from these ruins, because we always have, because we always will. This is Stefan Starzyński. It has been my honor to be your mayor. Long live Warsaw, long live Poland. The broadcast ends. For the first time in 18 days, the radio falls silent. September 27th, 1939. At 10 in the morning, Polish officers meet German counterparts under a white flag. The surrender terms are signed. Warsaw's garrison will lay down arms by 2 p.m. Across the city, Polish soldiers begin stacking weapons, rifles, machine guns, the few remaining artillery pieces. Some soldiers are weeping, others are stone-faced. All are exhausted. German forces enter Warsaw at 3 p.m. Nearly 200,000 troops march into a city of ruins. They find streets impassable with rubble, entire neighborhoods reduced to ash, bodies still buried under collapsed buildings, water mains fractured, no electricity, no food, and over 1 million survivors who have endured hell. September 28, 1939. Noon. At the tomb of the unknown soldier in Pilsudski Square, Polish and German officers gather for the formal surrender ceremony. General Zuma represents Poland. General Blaskowitz represents Germany. The Polish flag is lowered from the royal castle. A German flag rises in its place. Warsaw's defenders march into captivity. Around 140,000 troops will spend the next 6 years in prisoner of war camps. The officers will be treated relatively well under the Geneva Convention. The enlisted men less so. The civilians remain in their ruined city, now under German occupation. Let's talk about numbers. 20 days. September 8th through 28, 1939. Civilian casualties, nearly 26,000 killed, around 50,000 wounded. That's 12% of the city's population dead or wounded in 3 weeks. Military casualties, around 10,000 Polish soldiers killed, about 15,000 wounded, 140,000 captured. German casualties, roughly 3,000 killed or wounded attacking a surrounded city. Destruction, 12% of buildings completely destroyed, 25% severely damaged, 40% partially damaged. In total, more than 3/4 of Warsaw damaged or destroyed. Infrastructure, water system destroyed, electrical grid destroyed, gas lines destroyed, 10 of 14 hospitals destroyed or heavily damaged, 85% of schools destroyed, 60% of churches destroyed. Here's perspective on that cost. Warsaw suffered more damage in 20 days than London would experience in the entire 8-month Blitz that's coming in episode 22. And Stefan Starzyński, Warsaw's mayor, he refused to flee. After surrender, he continued trying to organize relief for Warsaw's civilians under German occupation. The Gestapo arrested him on October 27, 1939. He was imprisoned, interrogated, tortured. The Germans executed him in December 1939. They never announced his death publicly, afraid he would become a martyr. They dumped his body in a mass grave. The location remains unknown. He was right about one thing, though. Warsaw would rise again. The city was rebuilt after the war. The old town was reconstructed stone by stone from historical photographs and plans. But Stefan Starzyński's voice, the voice that kept Warsaw fighting for 20 days, was silenced forever. But Poland's agony wasn't over. While Warsaw burned, something else was happening 200 miles to the east. On September 17th, 8 days into Warsaw's siege, hundreds of thousands of Soviet troops crossed Poland's eastern border. The USSR, Stalin's totalitarian state, invaded from the east while Nazi Germany crushed from the west. Poland was being carved up between two dictatorships. Warsaw had fought Germany alone for 3 weeks. Now, the entire nation was being partitioned again. Next episode, Soviet invasion and Poland's partition. How the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact's secret protocol divided Poland between Hitler and Stalin, and how two totalitarian regimes began competing to see who could brutalize the Polish people more efficiently. This is the story of the fourth partition of Poland, and it's even darker than what you just heard. Subscribe. You're going to need to understand this to comprehend how the Holocaust happens, because Poland isn't just being conquered, it's being erased. 25,000 civilians, 20 days, one mayor who refused to surrender. This was the Siege of Warsaw. This was September 1939. This was World War II.